G'day detailers, Daily. Before we kick off today's episode, I'd like to make welcome Autofiber Australia, our new sponsor. So, as we all know, one thing when it comes to professional detailing, it's really important to use the right microfiber for the job, especially when it comes to ceramic coatings, glass cleaning, and etc. So, the guys at Autofiber Australia are offering an exclusive deal to all our Detailing Down Under podcast listeners. So they're giving us 15% off on our first order. So head on over to autofiber.com.au and use the code 15DDUP. Also, if you are a business owner, you can also email Autofiber Australia. So that's sales@autofiber.com.au, and that'll get you 10% off, and you set up your trade account for that. So seriously amazing, good stuff. Really, I've been using their applicators and scrub ninjas for a while now, even before this pod. So yeah, I really like the brand and what they offer. So I wouldn't support it if I didn't like it. So head on over and see for yourself how good they really are and their products. So so thanks again, Autofiber Australia, for coming on board, and hope you enjoy today's episode. Thanks.
Welcome to the Detailing Down Under podcast, the place for everything auto detailing in Australia right now. Here's your host, Dale Guthrie.
G'day and welcome to the Detailing Down Under podcast. I'm your host, Dale Guthrie. So we're back into it again, another week. Been looking forward to this one. I did make mention to anyone that follows our Insta stories. I was chasing a female for the industry, and if anyone knew of any, and I got some comments back. But this person already wanted to have on even before I put that one out, and yeah, it was a good time to ask the question if she was keen. So good one today, and her company gets mentioned a bit on the pod already. So welcome, Maddie from Bushwrapz.
Hey, thanks for having me, Dale.
Thank you. And also from Slick As Protective Films as well. So we'll talk about that as well. But Bushwrapz has been mentioned quite a few times on the pod already, and I talk about it, and everyone else that has come on has made mention and likes your brand and how it rolls. So it's been pretty cool.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I've been getting links just randomly around, been like, hey, you're here. And I'm like, whoa, that's so cool. I've never been in a podcast before. So thanks.
No, it's good, I think. And yeah, I only got like a couple sort of females in the industry. Like we still class PPF and all that part of detailing, and
Sure.
We don't probably see enough of females in the game, or business owners at least. So
Yeah, I think it's definitely changing. Like there's a hell of a lot more of us around. If you go to places like SEMA, or you see online heaps of people heaps of girls internationally, I guess it's been pretty slow and steady, but I think that sort of like that, what's it called? Like that stigma's been broken. So it's definitely becoming more common, and I think it will definitely skyrocket over the coming years, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. There's a lot of females in overseas that are killing it. So which is good in our industry and in the PPF world as well. So I'd like probably start with the Slick As brand. So probably those who don't know, I believe that's probably where it started before Bushwrapz, I believe. Is that correct?
Yeah, so Slick As Protective Films, Slick As in general actually started as a detailing business 11 years ago. I was 17, straight out of school, just wanted to get into business essentially. So I had the detailing business for 7 years, and then we got into wrap. We specialize in paint protection film these days. That's all we do. And we have 2 shops. So that's our service-based business, essentially, where we install our PPF. We have 2 shops in Brisbane, one in Brendale, which is North Brisbane, and one in Wacol in South Brisbane.
Yeah, awesome. So with the film, so who was detailing before that as well?
Me.
Yeah?
I'm a shocking detailer. I'll tell you that. I kind of take it really wasn't a detailing business. If I'm honest with myself, it was more like fleet cleaning, which I very much know the difference of these days. So when I started out, I actually purchased a detailing contract off my mum for $11,000. She was washing these fleet cars and didn't want to do it anymore and was trying to sell it. So out of school, I bought that. And that was good. We'd clean like just 10 little cars a day in multiple locations. And so that sort of got it started. But I found detailing a pretty exhausting industry, to be honest. I had a few staff and things, but I always felt like it was hard to keep people. They're sort of, like it was almost like an in the middle job. They'll take a detailing job, or they're often a uni student or something like that, and sort of wait for the next best thing. So I didn't really have that same that I do with my team these days, and it sort of wore me down. So I was lucky enough to be able to sell that detailing contract. I don't know how many years ago, a fair few years ago now, and pass that on to someone else, and they still actually run the business to date, which is awesome.
Wow, because we've had a few of them mobiles and people that have bought mobile kits and then sold it off and gone to fixed locations and stuff. We had a bit of a chat about a few episodes ago. So yeah. We even had one guy that said he sold it, and then we had the guy that actually purchased it, which I wasn't aware of on the pod. So.
How's that?
Yeah.
That's so funny. Yeah, it's awesome to see that you can sell that sort of business, and especially I think if there's a lot of goodwill in the business or a contract, it makes it easier to pass on to someone else.
Yep. So Slick As, so how did the wrap start? Did you have to go off and do training for that as well?
Yeah, yep. So actually how I got into PPF was when I had the detailing business, I went looking overseas to try and find something for truck chassis, because I was really into prime movers and trucks at the time. That's what I was mostly working on. And I sort of went to find the next best product for that to make that a lot easier to clean. I couldn't find what I was looking for. And then I stumbled across PPF at this trade show. I was actually in China, and you could just see there was so much hype around PPF. Like there was just swarms of people, any live install, people were swarming around it. So I sort of thought, oh, this is going to be like the next big thing. And I just wanted to sell products. So I thought, oh, I'll just get distribution rights on this product. Found an American company at the Chinese trade show, and I got distribution rights for them. But little did I know, PPF was not an established market in Australia, and it was going to be so much harder than just making the product available. We really had to learn how to install. I had to learn how to train people, and then build a business before I could start selling, essentially. So turned into this big whole saga. It's not such a short answer, but it was quite an intense thing to get started in PPF. I really went in not having any clue about how big of an ordeal it was going to be.
No, that's awesome, but it's good at the same time.
Yeah.
So what year was that, you reckon?
I'm pretty sure that was 2015. So 2020 now, 7 years on. So originally I started off as the FlexiShield distributor. FlexiShield's known at the moment for they've actually started making really cool cosmetic PPFs like colors and flex and all these sorts of cool things. But they were just a standard clear film manufacturer back when I started with them. So I went to a 3-day training course. I flew over to the States. Where'd I go? LA. And they put me through 3 days of training. I took 2 of my team with me at the time. We were all just like ready to throw the towel in because we didn't know it was going to be so bad. I mean, I say that with tongue in cheek because obviously I love PPF now, but at the time I just had absolutely no idea what I was going into. Like I just thought, oh, sweet, I'll do this 3-day training course and I'm going to be a sick installer after that, and you and me both know that is so far from the truth. It's not funny.
Yeah.
And then I brought that back home to Australia, and then I just started trying to create a market in my area for PPF at the time, which was really daunting because no one knew what it was. And then also it was super expensive. So to try and convince someone to spend thousands on their vehicle, I was finding really hard at the time.
I can relate to the not knowing what it is, especially where I am. So yeah, I had a question yesterday. They're like, oh, what's that? I just sort of relate it back to the clear film. I said, I'm doing wraps now, like clear film. And they're like, what's that? And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, well, paint protection film. And they're like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, I bet back then it was probably a bit unaware what it was.
Yeah. I think like these days it's getting a lot easier, and there's certain pockets in Australia that tend to know a lot more about PPF, like the bigger cities. I think there's in general more awareness, probably because there's nicer cars. But certainly if you go a little bit out of town, people are still really stumped what it is. And I just find that mind blowing. Like PPF's been in the States for like 20 plus years, and really common. And then Australia's like, what is this?
It's a bit like that with a few things, I reckon, in this industry.
For sure.
So you started on trucks. Is that where you originally?
Yep. So we started on trucks. I realized when I was detailing and selling used trucks that, because I used to do that as well, sort of tied in well together, that heaps of them had chips, just massive peppering on the front of the cab over truck. So that was where I originally started with my existing network within the transport industry. And we put PPF on the front of all those prime movers, and we started wrapping polished aluminium and, just stopped them polishing tanks and bull bars and things like that, which it took a lot for the market to be receptive of that, because they'd never heard of it. And I just think they didn't trust it, which is fair enough. But we still wrap a lot of trucks to date in our shops. So our wake hole shop is more geared towards trucks because it's a bigger premise and it's in the heart of the transport industry in Brisbane. And then our Brendale shop's just focused on four-wheel drives.
Yeah, right. When you said you went to China, what were you actually looking for? I know it turns out it wasn't PPF.
So you probably have seen it. I don't know. It was doing the rounds on YouTube a while ago, or like Reels or whatever. Oh, it wasn't called Reels then. I don't even know what it was called, but little short videos. And for the life of me, I can't think of what it was. But the video was like, you spray on this liquid, and it's just this clear liquid, and then you could literally like step in grease, and then it just falls off. It's this crazy coating, but it turns out like it's really amazing and nothing will stick, which I thought would be awesome for truck chassis because there's such a pain to clean. But it doesn't actually bind properly to the surface. So once you touch it or smear it with your hand, it fully removes that substance. So it loses all those properties instantly. So obviously not viable for what I was looking for. And I was really hoping the technology would get there with that product, but it didn't ever really go any further.
Yeah. Interesting.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So then I'll probably start with them into Bushwrapz. So how far along did Bushwrapz then come along?
So Bushwrapz, so 4 years into having PPF, like 4 years into slick as wrapping, which is 3 years ago now, we got into the DIY kits. So Bushwrapz is DIY paint protection film specifically for four-wheel drive market. We were wrapping so many 4Bs in our shop, and I had Sammy start with me, who's now my 2IC and business partner, and she started learning how to template. So that was a segue for us to get into four-wheel drives, because at that point, no one had four-wheel drive templates. Like all the big guys like Expel or Suntech, none of them had Australian four-wheel drives on their template software. So we started developing our own templates, I think 5 years ago, and it took us about 2 years to get the database to launch Bushwrapz and source a cheaper product to be able to sell it as DIY. So there was a lot of time that went into that. And yeah, we really wanted to deliver a product that was more affordable as far as PPF goes. And Slick as at this point had a really big following all over Australia because we were just super niche. We would have inquiries every day come from Northern Territory, WA, like all these places all across Australia. And we realized these customers are never going to be able to come to us for us to be able to do the installation. So that's why I thought, well, why not source a cheaper product, make it DIY, and then we can still service the customer, give them what they need, but they don't have to come to Queensland. So I think it was just a natural progression of what we were doing and just trying to do the same thing in a different way.
Yep. And I notice I think it's a better product because then you look at what's out there at the moment. Did you know about back then was it like bush barrows or them magnet ones that
Yeah,
everyone
yep.
sticks on? Like,
Yeah, so I did know about rhino hide.
that's the one. Yep.
Yeah, rhino hide was actually on Shark Tank the same week that I got distribution rights for Flexi Shield. And I just remember watching that with my dad and thinking, man, that's so cool. That's exactly what I want to do for four-wheel drives. But at that point, not in a DIY sense. I hadn't thought of that yet. But yeah, so rhino hide were like sort of paving the way, and then bush barrier come on board. And I think they launched about the same time that we launched, because I remember thinking, damn, we have like almost the same business name. So, and obviously there's with magnets. So those two guys, they have like a really cool product in that it's heavier duty, but I thought we would always have a niche for clear films where people don't want the look of their vehicle to change. And then obviously the fact that they can leave it on semi-permanently, I thought is really convenient for a lot of people that are, out in the bush quite often.
Yeah, I think and a lot that I experience with, it's not just going off-road. People will just have it just going around town. So we talk about
definitely
perfect for off-road, but it's also good around town without having to fully wrap the car and do like a full seamless fit.
Yeah, for sure.
So what, probably with both companies, what were the challenges starting out? Obviously, you probably touched on a little bit of it, but yeah, the challenges.
I think if I could nail it down to like one thing that I did wrong at the start, with Slick As and our pricing, and this even went back to when I was doing detailing, like I really messed up the pricing originally. And I think it's a really common issue for people to make that mistake. You're emotionally invested in your business. You don't want your customer to run away. You want to make sure you're offering a reasonable price. But that's certainly something that I really ballsed up when it came to doing PPF, because I was doing it way too cheap. And just not really analyzing the true cost of the material, the true time. I had it in my mind, that'll only take me an hour and it would take me 4 hours or something like that. So I think that pricing was probably the thing that I didn't get right at the start. And that's a really hard thing to change, like trying to change your customers and increase their pricing year on year after you've been started so low. I think that's I paid for that for quite some time.
Yeah, right. Yeah, can relate to that for sure. And I think we all talk about it in our detailing industry about who charges what. He's too expensive, he's too cheap. We're trying to, it's a race to the bottom, as we say.
Definitely.
Yeah, it takes a little bit to work on, and I'm still working on mine as well. So
yeah,
I think with PPF, yeah, like you say, you think, yeah, that won't take long, and then you're still going a few hours later, and you're like, oh shit, this is blowing out.
It's really interesting. So with Slick As, I recently hired 2 installers that are really great installers, already been installing at other shops, which is unusual for us because we've always had to train our installers. So when these guys come on board, I was like, hell yeah, this is awesome. And it's really funny because when they first start, they tell me, oh, Maddie, I can do a door in 20 minutes, or I'll do, whatever it is, right? Like they tell me how quick they are. And I'm like, yeah, sweet. And I would be the exact same, but we have time tracking in our shop. And so everyone has to clock on to each panel, which sounds super granular and annoying. But honestly, once you get in there, if you have a good process, it's really quick to do. And so just last week we had a team day, and my installer was telling me, I genuinely thought I did things in like a third of the time of what I did them. And I was like, yeah, I know. I would think the same thing if I didn't have actual data to track how long these things take me. And so I said, that's why we have a schedule, and we really like allow a certain amount of time. And it's a good thing, because without that tracking, one, you wouldn't even have the awareness. So if he goes to, install for himself on weekends or do something, have his own shop one day, he'll probably undercut himself naturally just because he's not aware of how much time he puts into the install. And it would help. It would mean I would underquote work because I have no visibility of the actual time. And then it means I would have unrealistic expectations on my future staff, thinking, hey, I can do it in 20 minutes. Why are you taking an hour? When really I just never tracked myself. So I think that there's a lot of power comes with being able to actually know how long something takes you, because that flow on for your whole business and all these different areas are just like super, super important.
100%. Yep. And you hear that a lot with people going, you got to know your numbers and stuff like that in our industry. So that, I think that's spot on. But that's pretty cool. I've never thought of tracking per panel. Is that going to be like full on, like continue, or is that just to get a bit of the ball?
Always.
Yep.
No, it's always. And I mean, I was sort of concerned that it wouldn't be sustainable as we grow. Like, and when we're a small shop, that was pretty easy to keep track of. And I originally started it to create a tool to track, to essentially spit out a number of what I should be charging. So that way I can check my quote to what I should, like, to what my actual time and material was, so that it's like every single quote I'm checking my price list. That way it just sort of it becomes a process without me getting involved, essentially. So that's why I started doing it. And I thought, exactly like you said, oh, you just stop it once you've got your price list, or once you've verified those pricings are correct. But actually we've kept it in play because it makes our scheduling easier for admin. She does all of our scheduling, and it makes it easier for the installer to know how they're progressing, be a little bit more self-aware. And yeah, it helps so much with our quoting and new vehicles that I don't think we'll ever stop it now.
Yep. Wow.
And I don't know, not to say go track your panels like with detailing. I think that would be, you guys probably smash out panels a lot quicker than a PPF panel would take. So perhaps that's pretty granular, but I would be looking to track things like, the standard prep process, or how long that, like, break it down. So prep's one part, your actual corrections one part, the coating's one part. And then that way, when you go to implement having staff or processes in the future, you already have some really good data to support what you're doing there.
Yep. Yeah, I actually do write down a lot for my jobs, just in notes on the app, to sort of when I start. And now I am breaking it down now, as from today, or not from today, but on today's job, breaking that down from washing, and then from claying prep, and then down to the correction side. So, and then we'll put on the prep for coating, and follow on from there. So I sort of do that, awesome. But yeah, it is, you got to be onto it and know your time. So one thing that helps me, I got security cameras. So if I forget when I started the car, I can go and backtrack at the time and on the cameras and see when I actually start.
That's so good. Good commitment.
So your trucks, you still pump out them flat out. So is that quite a good?
It's a pretty steady part of our business. It's not as, like, it used to be 70% of our business. Now it's probably only 20 to 30%. So it's not a very big portion now. But that's because we've grown the 4-wheel drive section. But yeah, we still have steady trucks through each week. They're awesome. They're honestly such a cool place to start with PPF, in my opinion, because truckies are more practical about the films. Like it was more forgiving for me when I was learning, because if I didn't trim right to the edge, and it's probably not my best trim ever, I mean, at the end of the day, they want it there for a practical purpose. So I don't feel like they were ever, like, would scrutinize my install as hard as if I was installing on like a Lamborghini or something like that. So I think they're a really good part of the business to have. And we use them as sort of like a stepping stone. So we start our juniors on trucks, just because it is more forgiving as well, and they tend to be a little bit easier if you're doing tanks and things. So I don't think we'll get rid of the trucks. We love them. Hopefully find some ways to do more things, more tippers, all the fun stuff.
Yeah, no. And yeah, probably, with the training, I received a few guys that definitely got me into trucks, and that was all a thing back in my mind. I thought, we have a big industry here, I wouldn't mind getting into that. And yeah, that was a bit of an inspiration from seeing what you girls do to then wanting to have a crack myself. So
yeah, definitely. It's and it teaches you a lot of technique. Like, say, a truck bumper, it's much more simple than a car bumper. But I mean, there's still a lot of learnings you get from that, and techniques that then you can apply to the harder bumpers. So it sort of starts you in a manageable place, rather than just like full deep end.
So with the Bushwrapz, with the templates, what sort of time is needed for getting a template for each car? I know you've been pumping out a few of late, like the new models coming up. quite often?
We allocate 3 days to create a vehicle template for our DIY kits. Bit longer if it's a pro template where it's like really snug around door handles and wrapped edges and stuff, because we obviously want that to be even more accurate. But it is such a time consuming thing that I think, everyone goes, oh, don't you just scan it or get a 3D scanner or, something like that. And it just does it for you. But it is such a manual process. You have to create the first draft of the template, install it 2 to 3 times, make those edits. And then as far as our DIY templates go, we do design them differently so that it's easy enough for someone to install with no film experience. So putting, as you would see in the templates when you go to install them, like sometimes it's not the most visually nice looking thing, but we've got to be really mindful of the person that's going to install it and make sure that it's easy enough for them to put on. So we often have to test it a few different ways to try and make it as easy as possible.
Yep. All right. Very interesting.
Hmm.
I talked about any thoughts in the PPF world? Any thoughts of how the industry's going so far? Is it getting better or worse, you reckon?
I think it's getting really better. I mean, you can sort of look at it in two markets, I suppose. Like the US, we obviously always look to the States to see what the trends are over there, and PPF's been around for a long time and it's certainly not going to go anytime soon in the States, which for me is a great reassurance because you've got to be aware of those. Well, at least I think you've got to be aware of those sorts of things. You can see that PPF is really striving to be more aesthetically pleasing. So if you're in the forums, you'll see people doing fully wrapped everything, like wrap corners and all these crazy wrapped things. So I think people have really good intention with doing almost the impossible with the product and pushing that to its limits. So I think that's really cool to see that people are doing that. And I'm sure that the products being developed are just going to get better and easier to do that sort of thing. I'm pretty interested in the fact that they're bringing out colored PPFs, different types of formulas that people are making with those. But I am interested. There's a bit of talk of, will colored PPF be the new vinyl wrap? And I know that a heap of signees across the world are going, please God, no, because no one wants the wet application. But I don't know. I'm really on the fence with that one because I know just how hard it is to color change a car with PPF. We recently did my boyfriend's car, and it has got its own challenges, but I think it really depends if the material, if they change the way that the films are formulated to sort of go that way. It'll be interesting. It'd be super cool if they had printable PPF. Like imagine if your vehicle signage was in PPF and not like a laminate that's going to delaminate and do all these sorts of things. So I'm sure there's so many things that the industry can evolve with.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I think the sign guys might be a bit worried because I think the black one's out now, isn't it? There's black PPF.
Yeah, there's another company called GSWF, and they make all these really cool colors in PPF. And I'm yet to do a car with that product, but yeah, it looks awesome. And I think there's actually like some people that will pay for a vinyl wrap because they want a really specific color, and then they'll pay for PPF over the top because vinyl is just going to scratch up really easy and do all these things. So there is some people that are paying for 2 layers of film. So, I mean, if that justifies there's a market and people can do it with half the labor and just do it once with 1 layer, that's certainly going to be a lot better. Probably a neater result as well. So, yeah, it'll be pretty cool. There's some really cool products. And like I said, Flexi Shield, they've brought out a range of films, and they're calling it cosmetic PPF, not colored PPF, which I'm not 100% sure on the differences. But theirs is a painted film or has a layer of paint in the film, from what I can understand, rather than like a colored dye. And that's how they've got these really cool metallic flecks and like crazy things going on, like color shift and stuff. And it's like it's like partially dry, partially wet installation. So it sort of makes me go, is that maybe the way that it's going to go? I just don't know. It's interesting.
Absolutely. How are you going with the supply chain issues? Is it any dramas getting film these days?
I've been pretty lucky. we've got a really good relationship with our manufacturers, so no one's let us down. There's definitely been shipping issues. So I would say that shipping has been worse than manufacturing for us. But we've just had to be really onto it and make sure that we're ordering stock well in advance. And that obviously puts some really big strains on cash flow, because if you're ordering 6 or so months in advance when you'd normally only order 2 months, you've got to come up with that cash. And there's all these sorts of things that come into play. But luckily, I feel like I had a pretty good, well, it wasn't good at the time. It really sucked at the time. But I had a lot of cash flow issues in the early days when I started importing product, because it was something that was so unusual to me, and really getting good at cash flow forecasting and doing these sorts of things. So when COVID hit, or we knew that it was going to start putting stress on supply chain, I was well drilled at what to do in those circumstances, what levers I had to pull, and what I had to sort of be aware of. So I feel like that was sort of a blessing in disguise, because I sort of knew how to handle that already. As much as I could, as much as anyone could in COVID. Like, we certainly haven't nailed it. We've ran out of stock multiple times, but you know, you just get on with it.
Wow. Yeah, I know you ship quite a lot. So yeah, with your DIY kits, you're always pumping stuff out. So
it's just off its head. Like last week or the week before, I had to get an air freight pallet to get something in time, and cost me $8,000 for one pallet in shipping. And I was just like, what on earth? Like, 2 years ago, an air freight pallet would be like probably 3.
Yeah.
So yeah, it just,
wow.
I think you just got to expect the unexpected.
Yeah. How many, probably, I don't know if you might know the answer. How many, I'll say meters, but how much film would you guys use in a week? Like, you're pretty busy. Is it a bit hard to question?
Slick as we use about 20 rolls a month.
Yeah, right.
Just for the 2 shops, yeah.
Wow.
And then Bushwrapz just depends how many people decide they want to have a crack at DIY.
Yeah. And that's going pretty well. Bushwrapz side of things, I think it seems to have taken off, I believe.
Yeah, I think we've got pretty good momentum. The business has been going for 3 years and longer if you include the time in development before we launched with templates and finding materials and things. And it's really got super good momentum in the last 12 months. It's just such a weird thing. Like, you do something for so long, you kind of think, why does it suddenly take off? But I suppose it's just that tipping point of enough people knowing what it is, and maybe understanding and trusting what PPF is as a whole. And then, I mean, a credit to my recommended installers across Australia, because I think the other thing was, we started pumping through some marketing digitally, and then our dealers really jumped on board and supported those marketing efforts as well. So it really compounded the growth of the business, because everyone's getting on board with the brand. And I think that's something I'm super proud of, is like, there's not a lot of brands. There's really only one, like Expel, that I can think of off the top of my head, that people are like, they want to promote. Yeah, we're like Expel. And I'm just so proud that people are like, yeah, we're Bushwrapz. Like, that's so cool. Like, I was just selling a product because I thought it was a good idea, but then for my dealers to get on board and be like, yeah, this is sick. Like, we back this business and this niche. And I think that's been really nice.
I can agree with that one. I just come across, I was told about you guys and I didn't really know. And then I think I reached out, and then, within a month or so, I was up there for training. So
yeah, you're a gun. You're straight into it. You're like, give me this clear film.
Yeah. And I'd never done it. I'd done the, like you said, get a kit first to start off with. So I bought the cake kit, threw that on a Ranger, and I probably, I dread to what I installed now. But yeah, what I can do now
normal.
Yeah.
We actually recently, we got a car back. That was my first ever car I wrapped. And all my installers are standing around looking at this car like, Maddie, what the fuck did you do? And I'm like, guys, I didn't even know what I was doing. Like, I'd done 3 days of training, flown back from the US, and like decided to wrap a car for like $3,500, which was like the most stupid thing in hindsight. Like, that material would have cost me like 2. I was just slave laboring it. And then I'm just like, it just, all the feels, and just looking at your own workmanship that like 7 years later is just, mind blowing, but also cool because if someone shut me down then, I mean, I wouldn't have continued. So I'm glad the customer was nice.
We say that with polishing a car, what we used to do probably 10 years ago, we definitely probably wouldn't do it now, or if not longer, but I know I
Yeah.
wouldn't. How many, what's your crew? How many people you got with you now?
Across the two businesses, I think we have 13.
Oh, wow.
And I say that because it just feels like it is changing so often. We have 5 senior installers in Slick As now, which is super cool, not including me. I don't install anymore. So that's just mind-boggling in itself that we have that many amazing installers. And then there's 4 of us in Bushwrapz.
Yep.
Packing and admin and product development and templating. Yeah.
Oh, wow. And yeah, majority of us females that you got with you as well.
Yeah, yeah. We've hired 3 guys now, so
All right.
that's
Yep.
just mind blowing. Slick has boys. So that's literally only in the last like little while. My boyfriend Chris was the first one to get on board with Bushwrapz. And now we've got 2 awesome installers, so that's pretty cool.
All right. Have they got pink boots as well or not?
We did joke that they had to wear leggings, hot pants to work, or they can't be in the team. Chris, a good sport, did turn up in leggings in his first day, but swiftly put pants back on after
that. Also, I seen the other week you're looking to get in the States as well, branch out over there.
Yeah, we literally launched. Oh my God, this has been so long coming. We've just had like, just you know what it's like. You do something for the first time, you have no idea what you're up for. So that's pretty much how it felt with launching in the States. Really, this whole new website thing and all these things we didn't know about. But officially we launched last Wednesday in the US. So we've got some marketing going around over there and trying to learn how the product will be recepted in the American market. So I'm pretty excited. I have pretty big hopes for the US. I just think they have a lot more product awareness as far as PPF goes, and not really the DIY options. So it'll be really cool to see how that goes. And I just want to give it a crack. Like, I'm sure it's going to be a bit hard, but I'll just figure it out.
You got to have a crack. How do you go with templates for them sort of cars?
Well, we're super lucky because Bushwrapz, we've always just templated what's been in our Slick As stores. So we couldn't have Bushwrapz without Slick As. It's just, that's how we've done our product development. So we do so many Rams, and we've started getting F trucks through our stores now. So that's sort of where we started. We're like, well, that's already a huge part of the American market, just in the Rams and the F trucks alone. And then there is vehicles that, you know, we've already got the Jeeps and things, and they're a popular vehicle in the US. So I'm well aware that we're not going to get the type of wide range of templates like we do in Australia. Like, I would say we pretty well have the most popular 4-wheel drives now. We're not going to backdate any further than what we've done, but we're never going to get that sort of width in the market in the US because I just don't have access to those vehicles, unfortunately, and I'm not going to fly to the US to template them. But we'll just do what we can with what we have, I suppose, and how that evolves over time, I'm not really sure, but I'm just going to have to. I just want to, give it a try. We'll wing it as we go, and hopefully we can. I don't know. I'm going to SEMA soon. I was joking that I'll make a Bronco template over there when I go over there and rent a Bronco because it's my dream car. I'll just bring back the paper, being like, look, my template. So maybe.
Wow. Yeah. So you are going to SEMA, so.
Yeah, I'm super keen. We go on like we leave on the 27th of October, so 2 weeks time we go. We're going to tack on a holiday to it, obviously, just to make the most of it. But I've missed the last 2 years of SEMA, so I got mad FOMO. I think I've been to like 5 SEMAs, so I'm just so keen to see all my friends over in the States and have some beers.
I was talking to a guy the other day. He's going, and I'm going to have a chat to him after he returns just to fill us in what's going on over there. So no doubt we'll
Yeah.
see a little bit of it from online. So,
Yeah.
also, I know you're pretty good at your numbers. How many sort of installers, say like myself, you got in Australia?
Oh, I recently found, I think we have like 59 or something, which is like insane. That's so many dealers,
Yep.
which is really, really cool. There's also a heap of dealers that don't ever buy Bushwrapz. So, I mean, there's some people like signed up, but I think they don't, they're probably just like not that comfortable with the product or how to quote it because they're used to like doing pro install. So, I'm sure once I do like a bit of a ring around, maybe that will drop a little bit. But yeah, like currently it's almost 60 people, 60
Yep.
shops.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Has that taken off and that's what I was going to say before. I think maybe the whole full drive thing's taken off due to COVID. I think everyone's bought a full drive
Oh,
and gone nuts
yeah.
off road.
It's been sort of like the most perfect storm. Like when COVID happened, I was like, who the fuck needs clear wrap? Like I am so screwed. But it's just been like, yeah, it's honestly just been luck. Like the four-wheel drives, everyone's bought them. So our installs went, like we had more installations happening. They also had that instant asset write-off thing, which I'm sure helped with sales of vehicles and stuff, especially for business owners. So I think all of those things sort of were really lucky. And then, yeah, everyone had time at home to do DIY and try something because they were bored. So that was all pretty good.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, it's good. And you do the training, which I attended. So do you do that
Yep.
much
Yeah, well,
often?
we're actually we aim to do it every 3 months. We're going to do another training course in December just before Christmas because we've got some people that are really keen to get on board. We're strictening our onboarding process from like now onwards just because we're aware that we've got a lot of dealers, but we really want good dealers that are supportive to the brand and like want to do the right thing by our customer. So we are strictening how we do that next year. And part of that is I have the time now to be a lot more hands-on with my dealers and making sure they have all the resources they need to implement it into their business. So part of that obviously comes down to having physical training, coming back for a second time and doing sort of like touch-up training. Once everyone's, a bit confident, you come back with really specific questions, which I think is super valuable. So I need to make that time to do the training. And then we're also going to be doing having a lot more available with the resources online to actually help the business owners go back and implement it. And I think to your point before, I forgot to mention, I think it was also just really lucky too, because I was the Flexi Shield distributor of film for 5 or 6 years. I already had an existing dealer network. I was already hosting training and I had a lot of dealers that I had a lot of rapport with. So when I brought out Bushwrapz, I instantly had that network to distribute among because
Yep.
they're like, oh, awesome, just a lower price point. This is going to be so good for our customers. They don't have to spend 8K. There's something more affordable. So that's also a big credit to how it sort of rolled out is we had that existing distribution network.
Yeah, nice. And that's what I say. It's a good, affordable way to get into PPF and not so much.
Mm-hmm.
Even as an installer and probably a purchaser of it, like it's good for us as installers. It's an easy way to get into PPF because I had no experience at all without the training, and then it's a good way with the templates.
I totally agree with you. Like in hindsight, if I had had something simpler to start with, it wouldn't have been such a shock to get into PPF. And I could have just focused on getting really clean, neat panels before I cared about wrapping and things like that. Like, you need to get your debris management under control and managing how much air and water you're leaving in the material. And that's what the DIY kits are awesome at. Like you just have that repetition of getting that as a clean install. Then once you've got that nailed and you can handle the material really well, that's when you can then move on to getting clean wrapped edges or learning stretch and bulking and things. So I feel like it's a natural progression. It's that step that was missing for installers. Like you went from having no film experience to playing with $200 a meter film. Like that is a really big, that's a rough patch.
Yeah. No, it is. And it is a bit daunting. And then now I'm starting to do bonnets and stuff. And then obviously the first bonnet you do is the 79, which you explained is the worst bonnet to do.
It's exactly what I said not to do. Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I was in way over my head that day, and did one the other day, and it seemed get a little bit easier, but yeah, they're still very technical.
Yeah, definitely. That's the downside of the four-wheel drives is, they typically have worse bonnets. Like if you were doing a Porsche, I mean, how nice is that? You line up the badge and then bottom center of the bonnet, and then the rest you squeegee out and good as gold. But the 4Bs tend to come with more complicated bonnets and easier side panels.
Yeah. Are they getting worse? The new, like with new cars, like I see we got new Rangers and stuff like that.
I haven't done the bonnet on a new Ranger yet. We've only done the sides. The new 300 is all right. It's pretty similar to the 200 series. The Rams and stuff are probably the most annoying. Oh, that new Silverado bonnet actually is a prick. Yeah, it's really not fun. We had rework on that. Even my two best installers, that job come back, so that was a bit sucky. But like anything, you got to have a few goes at it until you find the way that works. The same with the 79. Like I think I did one of those like 5 times until we figured it out. So it's just that repetition. But the one thing that I just hate in bonnets is like, the little plastic trims and grills and stuff they put in there, and like the Rams have a heap of those, one that has it right in the center, and they're just near impossible to pop out. So then you get all this debris in your install, and yeah, they're the most annoying.
Yep. And I still don't know why they're putting bonnet washers in them. Some of these, even the Toyotas, you think they would upgrade a little bit, get rid of them. So
yeah, no, they just don't think of us. That's okay.
No. All right, we'll get into our 6-stage question. So can you remember back your first ever, maybe your wrap job, your first ever wrap? I think you mentioned it.
Yeah. My first ever PPF job was a paying customer, like a friend of a friend. And we did a Prado, and they had just bought the secondhand Prado and no templates or anything. So I had to bulk, and I got showed the weirdest way to bulk doors overseas. And actually Rudy was at training, so you can ask him next week and he'll tell you a traumatic story. But it was the first ever paying job of PPF, and we took paint off the car. So it was honestly just like the worst job ever.
I wondered that. Wonder what happens when we take it off.
Yeah, it was just like, I mean, there's lots of processes I have within my business now. For anyone listening that's going to do PPF, please have a paint disclaimer and have a very, very upfront conversation with your customer when they drop off the vehicle that, you didn't paint the car and there's no way of knowing what lies underneath. And it's just the risk of doing the work. But it was really unfortunate. We just laid the door. I think it was Rudy, he laid the door, and just trimming the excess off and peeling the excess, it just took all the clear off this top of this door, and just not knowing how to I hadn't even warned the customer that was like could have been a problem. So a job that I really underquoted severely the first time, I then had to do rework on and then pay for a respray. So it was that was my first PPF job. Yes.
Wow. All right. I've put some of these might relate to you, but your favorite product.
Well, I did think about this, and I'm like, obviously I'm a shocking detailer, so I don't know how to tell you what my favorite product is.
Yeah.
But my favorite product within my business is actually a software that I use. So I'm just throwing it out there because it might be helpful to some people, but on how I was doing time tracking and things like that, we actually run all of our systems through Monday.com. And it's sort of like a Trello or an Asana. Like it's essentially like a project management sort of tool, but you can customize it the way you want. So that's my favorite thing within the business, because it allows us, we put all of our inquiries in there, and we put our job cards in there. We do our time tracking in there. So yeah, that's probably like what everything runs off. So it's a pretty cool product if you want to check it out.
No, that's cool. We had one the other week was Urable. I think it was more detailing related.
Yeah. I've looked at Urable actually for our shop, and it didn't integrate with Xero was the main reason why I didn't select it.
Yeah, that's what Steve said. He said it didn't. That was his downfall with it. So obviously Monday.com is very similar to Urable, very similar setup, is it?
No, so Monday.com is not like technically, I actually, it sounds terrible. I don't actually know what it really is, but it's more just like you can customize they make a board and then you can customize it. So we'll go like the customer name, the dates the job's in, and sort of you can just make it like a really nice visual board of what's going on, and then you can add the notes. Whereas Eurable is actually like it's more of a customer management software, I suppose. And there's all those automations that go into it with scheduling things and I think taking payment and stuff. So that's pretty cool. But because I've actually been re-evaluating this at the moment internally to see if there's a better software that we can use for like a CRM or something. And the issue seems to be that you need a CRM, and then your CRM, then you need to find another software that plugs into your actual workshop management, which is your time sheets and your material tracking and all of those sorts of things. And then on the other side of that, you then need the customer service part with the email automations or something. So I can't really find a software that does
everything,
every single part. It's about like stacking them to work, and you just need to make sure that they can integrate. But what's been good about Monday is it's like our main platform, and then you can plug in MailChimp to send out the email reminders and automation. So you can sort of plug any software into Monday, and then that way you don't have as many double handling of the job, essentially.
You're right.
So it's probably a bit hard to explain without like a visual part, but you can. It has been really cool.
No, there might be people listening that know all about it. I haven't heard of that one, but I heard of Eurable. But I think they sound very similar but different. So
yeah.
I won't say that one, ceramic or PPF.
No, I did think of an answer because I know you ask everyone that. But this is actually what I do tell my customers as well when they call. Ultimately, we don't want to put PPF on a vehicle that someone's not going to be happy with the look of it. So I would say ceramic for anything that's maintenance. The customer's geared around maintenance and aesthetics. I think you're going to need to go for a coating on something like that. And then obviously I'm going to say PPF for 4 drives.
100%. Any tip for anyone starting up a new business?
As I touched on earlier, I really think just getting your price right at the start. It's something that people just don't do because they just go, oh, my old boss used to charge this much, or I feel like I'll just charge this so I can get the job. But I think you got to think a long way ahead in the future and look backwards. So I really recommend that you be pricing off what your hourly rate should be if you already had staff and you already had overheads, even if you have a mobile business. Just because if you go and double your price one day overnight when you decide to commit those things, your regulars are going to be a little bit shitty. So I think if you have that future vision and just make the extra money while you're new. Like if you still charge $100 an hour in your mobile, kudos. Like you can invest some money into the software you use in your business, or you can invest your extra money that you're making into the tools and the things that you have, or get the help that you need. Whereas so many people corner themselves because if you have a low charge out rate at the start because you're just thinking, oh yeah, but it's just my personal time, then you get trapped. You can't afford to hire someone else, or it seems too scary, and you can't afford to get the things that you need to do the business properly. And all you said, like you said before, was the race to the bottom thing. People, they never do it intentionally to be doing the wrong thing. You just want the work. And I can understand that more than anyone. But I just think if I had have had someone tell me that breakdown at the start and say, hey, it's not about now. You're not pricing your time now. You're pricing your time when you have those overheads and that staff member and you've got to pay them a wage. I would have understood why I can't just charge $30 or $50 an hour or whatever it was, because it matters so much more. You're just going to be, there's no need to compete at such a low price.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. And I'm slowly increasing mine as well because you never know what's going to happen. Go full time, you might as well be charging that price now before like you said, if someone goes, oh, wow, mate, you double the price now.
Yeah, exactly. But the only reason people would expect cheaper is if someone else is doing it that cheap. Like if you're comparing yourself and your vision to have your business as, you surely someone you idolize in the industry and you go, oh man, they have such good work and they have such a nice shop. you should be pricing up there anyway, because that's where you're heading. You shouldn't be pricing for where you are now. So I think that, yeah, that's a really big thing. And then the other one is get super niche with your target market. Like, I think that that's the one thing that I've done really well with both businesses. And I mean, it's lucky because they're both four-wheel drives, but there's that whole thing where when it comes to marketing, if you're super vague, you actually appeal to no one. Like if I post a Ferrari one week, a four-wheel drive the next, a truck the next, and a motorbike, like people just, I mean, I guess you could say, oh, it looks cool because you can wrap everything, which is sick, but it makes the customer that has the Ferrari not comfortable to come with you because they see you doing like this low level work or whatever it is. And for us, we don't post when we do, like, we had a couple of Teslas in this week and we didn't even post them, I don't think, because it's not really what our following is. We do four-wheel drives, and that gives our customers trust to keep bringing those sorts of vehicles to us, and that's what our reputation is made off of. And the nicher you get, the easier it gets, because you're piercing through to your demographic. You know how to write your messaging to speak to your customer. Whereas if, you know, a doctor's going to read something really different to a tradie, they're completely different people. So it makes it too hard to target your messaging to.
Yep. Yeah, spot on. Yeah. I've heard a bit of that. Like, yeah, just post what you sort of the work you want to do. And I post what I want to do really and what I do, rather than all the shitty interior jobs I see and do that I don't want to do. So I don't post about it because I don't want them, but it's just part of
don't bring those to me.
It might seem fussy or whatever you want to call it, but yeah, I'm the same. I'll post what we do and what I want to do. So no, that's what I was going to say about we always talk about culture. How do you go with other businesses up there? Is there many? I know there'd be probably a lot of other PPF shops up there.
As in how the relationship is between myself and other businesses.
Yeah,
I think fine. Like, I think it's a little bit different maybe because, I mean, there's a lot of them that have even trained. So I think that helps because it's not, we're not unknown to each other. I think often you think, oh, screw them, if you don't actually know them. But if you've had a conversation with them, you just know they're just normal people. So I don't know. We haven't really experienced any narkiness or anything within our industry in Brizzy. Everyone's sort of got their own markets too, which is really cool. Like, there's different, you know, like Gangster Raps do heaps of really cool vinyl and like all these cool things that they do. And then Exclusive Raps do all these supercars and they do really high-end PPF and stuff like that. And then we focus on four-wheel drives and trucks. So we're so different. So I think it's really cool. I mean, I'm sure that's going to change over the next 5-10 years because the market is certainly becoming a lot more populated within our area. So with that will come more competition and different people in business, I suppose. But so far, so good. Everyone's just really kept to their own and focused on what they do best. And I think that's been really good.
No, interesting. No, that's good. All right. Any interests outside of PPF? What do you like doing outside of work if you have time?
Well, actually getting hobbies has been like on my to-do list, which sounds hilarious because I should naturally just have hobbies, but I really love what I do, so I feel like I'm just hanging out with people from work and making new things all the time. But I recently got a dirt bike, so I'm trying to go out and go see some turns out I'm a terrible racer. I will lose to anyone. I'm really slow. But I really like trails, so that's pretty fun. I can hold on good. So
that's awesome.
So I'm trying to have more hobbies.
Yep. Have more time off work. Away from work.
Yep. Yeah, pretty much.
All right. All right, we'll probably wrap it up there. So how can people get in touch with you, Maddie?
I guess if you're interested in doing anything as far as like becoming an installer or even just understanding what PPF is, I actually love answering business questions too. So if anyone just has in general questions to pick my brain, just hit us up, bushwrapz.com.au. Send us through a message there is probably the easiest way, and it can get directed to me.
Yep. And that's exactly what I did. And getting into PPF using Bushwrapz has been a good entry for myself, and it's done pretty well so far down where we are. So if anyone is interested, it's a good little sort of another service to add rather than having to go out and buy the plotter and everything that goes with it. I think it's a good way to have a crack in the industry. So in the PPF. So
That's
all right.
awesome.
And if anyone doesn't,
Del.
that's all right. If anyone doesn't follow Bushwrapz or Slick As, you're on Insta and Facebook. Yeah.
We're on Insta and Facebook and TikTok if you want to get really adventurous and see what the girls are going to post for you. It's always a mystery.
I was just going to say about the reels or the TikToks that you post up every now and then. They're all get involved with it.
They're pretty funny, and people go, "Oh man, you're marketing, you just know what to post." And I'm like, I don't post shit. That's the girls. You got to be young and on TikTok to see those trends. I don't know that. I'm not spending my time there.
Yeah, no, I don't either.
Yeah, it is funny.
It is. It's pretty cool. So you got to keep it fun, I guess, in the workplace with that many. And
yeah, definitely.
They definitely do. From what I experienced when I was up there, it's all a pretty fun atmosphere.
Yeah, got to make work fun or it'll kill you.
Yeah. All right, we'll wrap it up. So thanks, Maddie, and thanks for making the time.
No worries.
For anyone out there, don't forget to share and give us a rating on Apple and Spotify for the pod. So we're going pretty well. Got a few guests in the pipeline coming up and booked in. So we'll keep it all happening. So thanks for listening, and we'll talk soon. Thanks.
That was another episode of the Detailing Down Under podcast. Subscribe now for everything auto detailing in Australia.